Hello, and welcome to Kiki in the Cronx with Enola and Zachariah Adil.
Hello, and welcome to Kiki in the Cronx with Enola
and Zachariah Adil.
Welcome.
Hi. So today on our show, we have a wonderful artist who is just turning into a real star at the moment, it seems. She's known as Eileen Bothways, and she's here to talk to us about her work and about her life, actually, as well. So we would like to introduce you, Eileen Bothways.
Hi, thank you for having
in
me.
her human form.
Oh, I'm actually they or he.
They, sorry.
That's alright.
I knew I was going to make a mistake, and I did it within the first 2 seconds.
That's alright, it happens.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry, could you just explain that again? So your pronouns are...
Yeah, my pronouns are they or he.
They or he, okay.
Because I don't feel like a woman, even though I was assigned female at birth. I identify as trans masc non-binary, so I will transition through surgery and possibly testosterone at some stage, but I will still be non-binary, and a little bit gender fluid.
So non-binary means you express yourself on the outside in different ways, is that what you mean? Or
non-binary is more that I don't feel quite male or female. I'm sort of, I slide around the spectrum a little bit more than that, and feel comfortable sort of more in the middle.
Right.
But I express, my gender expression varies more between sort of androgynous and feminine, rather than what society might define as totally masculine.
I do apologise,
No,
but the
that's
thing is, some people really get offended by this, and I even when I explained to Enola a little bit about you, I said I need to remember to call you they, because it is something. I have other trans friends, and I I'm not very good at expressing myself in the way that they've asked me to, just because I'm so used to. It's a really hard thing to get my head around. I'm a gay man myself, so I should hold myself to a higher standard. But I don't know why it's so hard for me.
It's so imprinted in society, though.
Yeah.
We're taught from birth that things fall into two categories of she or he, and anything that visually can deviate from that norm that we've been introduced to is often like very hard. So it is a learning curve, I think, for everyone, but I think like as a whole society we're getting more and more progressive, and I think we're going to get there. It's just going to take another maybe generation or two, and then we're going to shatter that whole gender binary and really open up the spectrum.
Yeah, I think what you said is true. It's a learning curve, and it's new to a lot of people, and it takes a long time for people to get used to something that's new language, new ways of people presenting themselves or expressing themselves, and new way of conversations that a lot of people, especially older generations, haven't had before.
Absolutely. Even I misgender myself sometimes. It happens.
Yeah, and I don't think a lot of people mean it to be malice.
Oh no, not at all. It's just something
you can recognise.
It's just something you get used to.
Yeah, cool. So your name as your non-drag name?
My non-drag name, I go by Samuel.
Okay.
So it's coming up for a year of being Samuel. It's a name I picked out for myself actually back in the early 90s, but it was like my secret name until last year, where I was like, it's time to use my true name and evolve into my ultimate Pokemon form.
And why did you pick that name? Was there a particular reason?
I remember being 9 years old and seeing the Diary of Samuel Pepys on the bookshelf and thinking, Samuel, that should be my name.
Oh,
and then thinking I shouldn't tell people this ever. And then growing up feeling, that maybe I was meant to be a woman, because I did occasionally like expressing myself with makeup and with sort of feminine things and, skirts and heels and dresses. And then just over a year ago, as I sort of learnt more about it, I realised, no, this body isn't right for me. And there are plenty of people out there who are assigned male at birth or are just who are men who do like to present often quite femininely, and there's nothing wrong with that. And there's like, no one would turn around to a guy wearing a dress who identifies as a guy and say, "You're not a man."
True.
And so just because I like to often express femininely doesn't make me any less of who I feel like I am inside.
Likes to wear lipstick doesn't mean that means they're a woman. Necessarily.
Yeah, exactly.
So I think for somebody like me, I like to wear makeup. I like to be quite feminine, but I think it's just the luck of the draw that I happen to like what my gender assigned at birth is kind of given as, this is yours. Sort of thing. So I was kind of lucky, I think. I guess that's the luckiest. But
it is what it is.
Yeah, it is what it is.
What I wanted to ask you, right, connected to this, is what, you know, currently the debate is children as young as 4 and 5 years old were being taught about, I don't know if they're being taught about gender fluidity, but they're talking about homosexuality in particular, and they're starting to teach this at a young age.
Yeah.
Where do you stand with that? Do you think it's a good thing for children as young as 4 or 5 to be taught about gender fluidity?
I think that it makes it weird if it's not a natural thing that's part of society. If it's something that's left till later to learn about it, it seems like it's something that's not the norm, and it seems like something that's sort of a deviation from the norm. And I think if everything's on the table about, you know, some people are straight, some people are gay, some people are bi, some people are pan, some people are asexual, some people identify with the body they have, some people don't, some people kind of flip between the two. If it's all there from the start and just completely normalised, a child doesn't grow up with that any idea of stigma surrounding it, because so often like, I know people who are raising their kids being like, we're going to teach them when they're older and can understand, and it's like, but then there are people who are outside of that norm who are raising their children to see those bodies, and it's just going to be part of the norm, and I think it just should be the norm.
Would you have wanted to have gone through the transition younger?
I think I would have liked to have had top surgery younger. Testosterone is a goal, but it's still up in the air because it would interfere with an autoimmune condition I have. So that's something that's on the table for later. But top surgery within the next 5 years for me is definitely on the table.
Tell us about Eileen Bothways.
Eileen, she is... She varies between a she and a they. Like, more often than not, Eileen's a they, but sometimes, in some moments, she'll have moments of being a she. Mostly when she looks like the femme fatale that's just murdered her 4th husband. That kind of high level of sort of 1950s glamour that makes you go, get that queen of gin and tonic right now before she kills someone. Eileen is a socio-political performer, deals with a lot of issues about gender, it being a spectrum, sexuality, mental health, and just explores difficult topics in ways that are quite therapeutic for me, and also like quite powerfully encouraging, I think, for other people. So I always joke that I don't, Lady Gaga says I live for the applause, and I always joke that I live for the tears, because at the end of so many of my shows people end up like crying and then coming up at the end and being like, that was really moving, and I'm like, oh, thank you. Sort of inside like, cry some more. But yeah, so I do Burlesque, which is drag queen combined with burlesque, and includes sideshow in it as well. So I'll do things like body stapling with a staple gun, human blockhead, you know, where you hammer nails up your nose,
Wow.
I've done some fire eating. I want to get into like some needle play. I've done like wax pours, stuff like that.
Is this all in one show? Because this sounds great. Like this is like people have got to be affected by the end of that. They'll be like, "Whoa, that was."
Oh yeah, yeah. Like last night.
Life changing. That's absolutely life changing.
And she's not dead yet.
It's a miracle I don't have septicemia, to be honest.
Wow. So are you like all of the stuff that? Where did you learn to do all of that stuff?
Sheer stupidity.
Okay.
And then finding someone who would insure me for it. So
right. So how did you get into drag first of all? Did you start doing that?
I got into drag through actually RuPaul's Drag Race. A very good place to begin.
Yes.
As Mary
My
Poppins
favourite
would
show,
say.
Yeah.
But yes, I got into Drag Race and thought to myself, oh, I really want to do that. And I had started doing, a year before that, Burlesque. And so I'd started doing Burlesque, and then I was like, oh, I really want to do some drag as well. And then just randomly I ended up becoming friends with Ivy Winters from RuPaul's Drag Race. And she was very encouraging and encouraged me to start performing, so I did. And then it kind of tumbleweeded, and I'm suddenly here.
When was that? What year was that?
I started drag in 2016.
Okay.
So
Wow, 3 years ago.
at the age of 30.
That's
It was
amazing.
my 30th birthday present to myself.
Oh my god.
That's some present. And when did you start the other stuff? The
Burlesque.
The other
sideshow.
Incorporating all the sideshow stuff as well.
I started incorporating sideshow with it just over a year ago.
Mm-hmm.
Which was that was an interesting thing. Had to up my insurance. Thanks, Blackfriars. Blackfriars Insurance for helping me out there.
Were you performing before as well? Like before you started doing this, what was your performance history before?
A year of Burlesque before I started doing that. Other than that, I actually wasn't a performer. I had done some singing, songwriting stuff whilst at school and done like a few shows there and at uni, but I actually had a lot of stage fright, so didn't like to perform. And then I went into producing shows in the West End. So I used to do in-house casting on shows and development of new shows going in, and then taking shows on tour around the UK as well. But I was just in the London production office and just like producing and general managing the shows and stuff. And did like Woman in Black and Inspector Calls, Railway Children.
Classics.
Yeah.
Railway Children up at King's Cross.
And it was also at Waterloo Station. And actually, for a long time, it was me on the poster. Flagging down the train because we hadn't cast yet and we didn't know what to do, and it was the day before the shoot, and so me and someone else from the office and the photographer's son went and were in the shoot because everyone was like, well, they'll never know because it's just a photo shoot and you're photographed from behind. So that was me on those 50-foot billboards.
I probably walked past that a few times. I used to work in King's Cross. So that's so cool.
Yeah.
So you were like behind the scenes,
I was
but
behind
still
the scenes
in kind of theatrical world. So then when did you decide to like step out into the spotlight?
I was in my late 20s and I was really sick of making everyone else's visions come to life and not my own, and I had like a bit of a sort of breakdown. I was actually having a not so great time at my work because TMI, my boss would occasionally like stroke me and put his hands on me in weird ways and say very sexual things about me and my genitalia. My boss told me that if I ever tried to leave him in the company, he wouldn't give me a reference because they couldn't live without me. And they actually fired a whole load of other people to get me to do like all their jobs as well. So I was putting like all these ridiculous extra hours and like working all these people's jobs and saving them loads of money. So I disappeared overnight and moved, and they never found me again.
Oh my goodness.
So you didn't quit or anything, you just left and did a midnight flip.
Yeah.
Where did you end up after that?
I ended up doing events organisation for an event and gallery run for an exhibition for that was benefiting the charity Mind, and then I ended up actually writing music for that, which was involved in the exhibition, which people don't actually know because I made sure my name wasn't like attributed to the song, but that was me like writing it and singing it. So
why did you not want your name to be on that?
Because I didn't think it was very good. But they liked it, so
they liked it.
They liked it. I got some money from it, so it was fine. But yeah, and then I had what I call my midlife crisis at 30, and just before that became a burlesque performer, and then became a drag performer, and
boom.
Then
here we are.
So my performer experience has been just winging it and pretending that I'm a performer until I became a performer.
That's what they say, make it till you make it.
Yeah.
And here you are.
Here I am.
So where did you grow up? Are you from London or are you from...
Yeah, I grew up actually in Dulwich.
Oh,
so
very nice.
Yeah, so I grew up in Dulwich, then lived in Elephant and Castle, and now I'm in Clapham.
South London.
Yeah. Always a South Londoner.
Yeah. Don't ever go
not too far from the Cronx. Not too far from the Cronx.
Exactly.
What do you think of Clapham? Do you like it?
I like the green spaces, and I like how many confoundables I can catch on Harry Potter. The like Pokemon Go version of Harry Potter. I like how rich it is for inns.
I was literally wearing my Gryffindor top before you came.
I'm a Gryffindor.
Oh yeah, I'm not. I'm a Hufflepuff.
Oh, I
know nothing about any of this. I'm sorry. I don't know Harry Potter.
But I've still bought all the Gryffindor stuff. You know when you get sorted on Pottermore? I got sorted into Hufflepuff.
Oh. Loyalty.
Loyalty, yeah. Oh. So you're the brave one then.
Yeah, I'd like sometimes stupidly so. Like, there's something like it's weird because I can't really like sort of stand up for myself so well. But like if I see like someone else like being treated not very well, I just kind of step in, being like, "Wait, what do you think you're doing?" sort of thing.
Yeah.
And yeah, I have a lot more bravery when it's for other people. It seems.
But yeah, you're doing this this performance, these performances as Eileen Bothways, and that is partly for you and partly for people who have experienced what you experienced. So I think in a strange sort of way, you're doing the same thing there, but you are also doing it for yourself.
Yeah, Eileen's made me a lot more, I think, vocal and blunt and like direct and stuff, and like it's kind of helped me sort of, I don't know, level up.
Has it helped you, or do you use Eileen to do it? Has it helped you in your personal life?
It's helped. Yeah, Eileen's definitely as a character, because I think playing a character that you imagine to be like so direct, so strong, so like sort of pioneering in many ways. Some of that does suddenly come across to your Muggle form as well.
What's that? Is that Harry Potter?
Have you really watched any Harry Potter already?
I've seen the first one, and I've not read any of the books, and I'm a total. I'm so ignorant about Harry Potter. I'm so sorry.
So Muggles are like the regular people who don't have any.
I suspected that's
powers.
what it meant, but I just want to check. But
I can't believe that.
Eileen Bothways that's a great name, Eileen Bothways.
Thank you.
I love the pun there. How'd you come up with that? Was that your first choice? Or?
That was actually, the name was actually given to me by a friend of mine in America who was like, wouldn't it be funny if you're called Eileen Bothways? Because, you lean both ways. And I was like, can I? And she's like, take it. I have named you. I'm like, I have a name. And it actually ended up last year being Work.com's 25 drag queen names in the world.
Excellent.
So, in the top 25. So I was like,
check you really are becoming a star, as I say.
That's amazing.
I've often considered being a drag queen, and I was thinking of a name the other day, and I thought Megan Chips or Megan Bacon. Egg and chips.
Yeah, I got it.
It's
I
rubbish.
like mac and chips.
Egg and chips.
Mm.
Yeah. And yours is Pooja Bhatt, isn't
I'm
it?
Pooja Bhatt. Stroke Devi. I'm within my drag, which I've only ever done like 3 times in my life. But my idea was I would be Pooja Bhatt, and then like Jem. You know Jem from the old cartoons back in the day.
Yes.
She touches her earrings.
Truly outrageous.
Truly outrageous.
Yeah, I like that.
So she touches her earrings, and then suddenly she becomes Devi. And I come out and I finish up with a classical Indian dance piece.
Oh my god.
Ooh,
Do it.
very nice.
That's what I was thinking. Which I'm yet to do. I have an opportunity beginning part of next month, which I might be doing something somewhere,
Cool.
but I haven't confirmed.
Ah.
You know me, I keep delaying. I will do it. I'll
Let
do it.
me
At some point I
know.
will do it.
I'll be there.
Yeah, you'll be there to do my makeup as well. I'm gonna ask you to do my makeup.
Don't ask me to do your makeup.
I can't do
I'll
makeup. I'll bring my cousin will
I
do it.
run drag class, makeup courses.
Oh really?
I do.
Oh my god! I'll come to that. I'll come to that.
That sounds good. I might come as well. I might come to help me out. So, how much of Eileen is you?
I don't even know anymore. Like, the lines are becoming incredibly blurred. I was saying the other day to my parents how Eileen gets everything and I get very little. And my parents were like, "You do realise that Eileen is you?" And I was like, "Well, no. And they were like, "Well." So, like, she gets the amazing costumes and I got... This year I've got a $12.99 pair of dungarees from Amazon.co.uk.
I like those dungarees,
really cool,
actually.
yeah.
I actually really like them, and I might be checking that out.
They are so
Student
comfy.
discount.
What do your parents think about Eileen both ways?
They find it very weird, and they are in their 70s, and I think for people in their 70s who are so conservative and so like heteronormative, I think they're dealing with it better than they might otherwise be. So, like, they're dealing with that quite well. They haven't quite got around the whole gendering thing. Like, last year, I tried to come out as trans to them, but also mentioned that I was going to therapy for depression. And they took this as conversion therapy, and I tried to correct them, and they weren't getting it, so I just kind of left it. So they think I'm in conversion therapy at the moment, but I'm not. Like, I'm very happy with my gender identity, but, you know, whatever helps them sleep at night. But as far as Eileen goes, like, they're quite supportive. They got quite excited when I got flown out to Zurich to perform in front of 55,000 people at Zurich Pride. Wow. And got put up in like this 5-star hotel in a junior suite and had like a private driver and stuff. And
That's
so
amazing.
my parents were like very happy with that and were like, "Oh yes, keep doing that. Very, very good. Well done." And I'm like,
that's what they can understand.
Yeah, that's what they can understand.
Yeah. So they're dealing with it better than as well as they could do.
Yeah.
I guess, which isn't so bad, I suppose.
Yeah, exactly. They still call me by the name they gave me and refer to me as she, and I keep trying to be like, and I even tried to make it really obvious by dropping them an issue of Marie Claire I was in where I was referred to as Samuel, and they were like, my mum sent me a message saying, "Oh, they got your name wrong." I was like, "Well, I did try to go over this, never mind."
And what was it like when you told them about Samuel, that you want to be known as Samuel the first time?
It was kind of terrifying. And I did also say that I'd wanted to come out as that and pansexual to them when I was younger, but I'd been really scared to. And I said that my biggest fear was hearing that they were disappointed in me, and they were very quiet. And I said to my dad, "How are you feeling?" And he said, "Well, I suppose quite disappointed." And I was like, "That's exactly what I just I was afraid of hearing." And my mum said, No. What your father means to say is we're embarrassed."
Oh, wow.
And I was like, "No, this isn't making it any better.
Oh, no, that's a nightmare. That's exactly what you don't want to hear.
Yeah. So at that point, I said, "Okay, I'm just going to go to bed." So because I was visiting them overnight, and I was just like, "I'm just going to go to bed."
Oh.
So I just took myself to bed at like 9:30 at night. I was like, "There's not much else."
What was going through your head?
I was thinking, well, there's not much I can do. Really. This is all there is. So I messaged.
Were you upset? Did you cry?
I was planning on having like a little cry when I got home to my husband, and until then, like I messaged him and I messaged my coven, and because I messaged my coven a lot about sort of big emotional things. My coven were like, just go home to Will, and I was like, no, I'm just going to stay the night, otherwise it makes it even weirder, and my parents will be like, oh, you're terribly rude leaving when you've just come over, and.
Tell us more about Will and the coven.
Oh, so Will is my husband, who is quite queer himself and has done drag and is like very like cool and comfortable with me like transitioning. So that's cool. And
was he biologically male?
Yeah. So yeah.
How did you meet?
It was really weird. So it was 9 years ago. And we were introduced through a work person who, because I was in my free time working for someone and doing events management for Wikipedia fundraising events and like some of their VIP events, and I met Will when he was in his spare time running the food and drink for Time Out's #1 choice of summer 2010 called Salon d'Ete, which was this speakeasy with burlesque performers, and I was working a Wikipedia event for the person we were both working for, and he was like, oh, you two should meet. So we met, and the same day as we met, we were also matched by OkCupid's algorithm.
No.
And then we were like, oh, this is interesting, let's add each other to Facebook. And we added each other to Facebook. We had 80 friends in common. And back in the day when you have like 400 friends each, it was like, how are like almost a quarter of our friends in common? And everyone was like, oh no, of course you two know each other. And it turned out that for about 5 years, pretty much every event that I'd been at, he hadn't been able to make, and every event he'd been at, I hadn't been able to make, and we hadn't been single before then, and we'd just been like passing ships, not being single, and then we both met when we were both recently single.
I think that's called fate.
Yeah.
That's like you were travelling along like this, then you just kind of
just
meet.
finally met.
That's the law of attraction.
That's amazing. Yeah. Oh,
so
it's beautiful.
And he's really nice, and he's really cool, and he's just a really nice, cool, intelligent, creative person, and I'm like lucked out.
Oh, and you're married?
Yeah, we've been married for just over 3 years.
Okay, what was your wedding like?
We had 2 weddings because his family's Malay Chinese. So we had on day 1 we had a Chinese tea ceremony. And then on the second day we had like a sort of more traditional English wedding to keep like my family happy, and we had like little weird touches. So we had like a drag flash mob first dance.
Oh
and
my god, this is amazing. That's just, I wish I could be at a wedding like that.
I want to see videos of this.
This is
so interesting.
Yeah, and like he rushed off, and then he came back on in partial drag, and his groomsmen came on in drag, and the bridesmaids, and we were all lip syncing and doing like a dance routine. And
oh my gosh! When was this?
This was 3 and a bit years ago. So
what did your parents make of that?
They were a bit like, what is happening? Why is this happening?
Do you have siblings?
No, I don't.
No, you're an only child. Oh,
At least I'm the only one who can disappoint them.
Yeah.
They don't have to worry about others disappointing them. So.
Oh wow, that sounds like a very good day though. Did you enjoy yourselves?
I did, and Will did. I mostly get like very anxious, so like I get a lot of anxiety. So it was like mostly a blur, and. Yeah, mostly a blur and a lot of anxiety, and I also had a cold on my wedding day, which was, typical, but but it was a good day, and it was like good weather, and pretty much all our friends and loved ones were there, so.
So you're talking about your wedding and your coven, that's the other thing that you mentioned earlier, so what's it all about?
So I am part of a witching coven. I am in it with, excuse me, a little hiccup. 3 other performers. called Ruby Wednesday, Popular Cure, and Kitty Harvey. You should check them out. Kitty Harvey is a comedian. Popular Cure is a fire and burlesque performer, and also slideshow artist. And Ruby Wednesday is a drag singer and sideshow performer as well. And yeah, they're cool people. We get witchy together, we cast spells,
Get witchy.
Get witchy. Get
awesome.
witchy with it.
And that includes casting spells. Is that what get witchy means?
Yeah. We don't get to meet up like particularly often, just because performers all have very busy, differing schedules.
Yeah.
So it's like maybe a couple of times a year, but everyone's like very sort of cool and casual about it, and I'm just like, I miss everyone.
Oh, so they're also a good source of support for you. They're a friendship group as well.
Yeah.
That's
and
really cool.
Kitty actually lives with me and Will. She's our lodger. So yeah, it's nice to live with her, and she also helps us pay our bills. And
Oh, that's awesome. That's really nice. So, do you perform full time then? Is that your full time job now?
Yeah, pretty much full time. Like, it's only if I have like less than a couple of shows a week that I might take on occasionally like a shift, like a freelance shift somewhere, doing like waitering or cloakroom or something, because I'm part of this this events company where you can just pick up a shift randomly, so that's really useful. So if I only have like a couple of shows in a week or something, or one show, then I'll be like, oh, I can just grab a shift here and it will make up the money.
Yeah.
But I haven't done one of those shifts since maybe March, I think.
That's very cool. You're busy and booked.
It's been
as they say.
booked and blessed.
Booked and blessed.
Hashtag booked and blessed.
Yes, baby.
Getting on a lot of planes as well, so which is funny because I hate flying. Like I really, really hate flying. Like pretty much every flight I get on, I grab whoever's next to me and then profusely apologise for grabbing that person. And on my flight to Zurich, the guy next to me who I grabbed made a suggestion that when I get back to the UK, maybe I should look into getting hypnotherapy. And I was like,
is that bad?
I was like, you're right. I'm very sorry. I'm very sorry about that.
What is it like working in that environment, the drag environment? Is it bitchy? Is it cutthroat?
Oh yes. Like it's yeah. Yeah, it's you come across some genuine people, which is great, and then you kind of like hold on to them because solidarity. But then you do have like really backstabby, two-faced people who just want to slag people off, and you're just like, why? This is like it was at my old girls' school, and I'm done with this. I don't want this. This is not what I want in my life. This is like kind of toxic. And so you just try and ignore it. I did actually have a suicidal breakdown a couple of years ago after realising that a lot of queens weren't as genuine as they made out to be. And so I went in very much looking for family, looking for community, looking for that sort of sense of security. And I was very much looking for something that I felt was missing within me, and that I felt like I was crying out for. And everyone was sort of like, oh yeah, we're family, we're sisters, blah, 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 blah. And then it became very apparent that it was just smoke and mirrors. It was just things people said, but they didn't mean it, but I meant it. And it was just so crushingly disappointing. And then like all the drama that was going on in the scene and infighting and just a lot of like things that happened that I'm kind of the person who's very much like things should be done fairly, things should be done correctly, things should be done right, and I'm very sort of concerned with ideas of sort of justice, and there's so much nepotism and there's so much backstabbing and things just that aren't fair in the industry. And I was so upset by that, it just kind of pushed me over the edge. And so like I had this big breakdown, and so it's been like sort of on and off antidepressants since then, and some therapy as well, and it's been good, and I think it's given me like a thicker skin, and like it's helped me to sort of toughen up in a way, and Eileen's definitely helped me to sort of toughen up, and more importantly, Eileen's actually helped me to vocalise what I think more, and I'm less afraid to sort of stay true to myself. So when I see things, I do turn around to people and go, that is not right, you should not be doing that, you need to be better, we all need to be better. So it's made me much more like direct, and I always kind of think if people don't like it, it doesn't matter, because it's not me that needs to change, it's the industry that needs to change. And be the change you want to see, so I'm going to do that.
Yeah. And you mentioned some of the performers that you're friends with as well. So I guess you found some people within that you are your people.
Yeah, exactly.
Because I think we sometimes want everyone to be our friend.
Yeah.
We think that everyone should like us, but that's just not the way it is it? Unfortunately. But how are you received? Because I think in the drag community it's mostly gay, cisgender men.
Yeah, a lot of the time.
Yes, this is a big question. Yeah,
not coming from that.
It varies. Like some people, there'll be some sort of animosity of, oh, you're a woman, you shouldn't be here. Some people will be like, oh, you're trans and you have every right to be here, but maybe not quite this space. Other people will be very welcoming. It's I think from the outside it seems like a community that's very all-encompassing, but actually there's so many little tribes within the community that it does become as segregated as a lot of communities in the heteronormative world as well. And it's all about sort of finding your tribe and breaking down the barriers between tribes as well. And so, some places I will be accepted, some places point blank I won't be. Like there have been jobs that I've applied for, more sort of corporate gigs, and they'll be like, oh yeah, great, we want you for this is what you need to do, and then they find out that I'm not cis male, and suddenly the booking is cancelled.
Oh really?
And it's like, I'm giving just the same material, and they're like, well, we're looking for a genuine drag queen or a real drag queen. And it's like, well, I am a real drag queen. What you're saying is you're wanting to perpetuate the stereotype that a drag queen is just a crossing of a gender barrier from a cis man to a woman, whereas gender's more about exploring spectrums and more about exploring gender as well. So no matter what body you're in, like it's okay to explore all the genders through performance, because gender is performative in society anyway. And so what really they're looking for, a lot of the corporate people, is to entertain people with something that's deemed still out of the norm and unusual, and a man cross-dressing, because a lot of the time they don't want drag kings, because it's not so, I think more
outrageous, maybe.
Yeah, outrageous and like shocking for a woman to be dressing as a man. Not so exciting. They want a man to be dressing as a woman, because it's more shocking, I think, because in society I think femininity is often seen as like something quite weak. Like there's all this sort of like, oh, being feminine is strong, but it's still something that causes danger, because a lot of the time you'll have a trans man who's pre-op, who's seen as a woman, go out dressed in masculine clothing, and they won't get hassled. And then you'll have maybe a pre-op trans woman go out in feminine clothing, and they're seen as a man wearing female clothing, and they'll get attacked. It will, there's something about femininity that is either there to be objectified or to be attacked. Yeah. And it's very much about trying to break down those barriers, I think. I feel like we need to work a lot harder on that as a society.
I was just going to go back to the drag world and things like my favourite topic, Drag Race.
Oh, yeah.
And we know there's one coming here.
Yes.
Is it something you're interested in? being involved in, or watching as a viewer?
It could be something I'm interested in.
Have you seen any episodes?
It's not on yet.
It's not on yet.
Oh no, I mean the American one.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I've watched all the American one.
Yeah.
I know, and I've worked with some of the people from it. So
Really, who have you worked with?
I have worked with Ivy Winters. I have been at shows with Laganja, Latrice.
Latrice.
I've had Sharon Needles wear some of my jewellery.
Awesome.
What
did you think of the last series? What do you think of Evie Oddly?
Oh, I really liked Evie Oddly. Yeah. Yeah, she's cool. I like how her drag kind of messes with the norm again.
Yes. Yeah, she's quite different, isn't she?
Yeah. So
Norm.
anything that sort of deviates from the cookie cutter drag that you kind of can often get, I definitely enjoy. But yeah.
Did you think she?
Yeah, was she your pick?
Yeah, she was. Yeah.
Yeah. It felt like the right time for her kind of, her as a performer. It felt like the right sort of time for that kind of performer to win the show.
Sure. Yeah.
I didn't see it. I haven't seen many of them
Yeah,
at all.
you're not really a big.
It's my Harry Potter.
Yeah, that's
Harry Potter I've seen.
Drag Race is my version of Harry Potter because I'm obsessed with it. So who would be your favourite queens from all of the series? Who are your favourites?
My favourites, I really like Sasha Velour because I really like what she stands for, and I really like how inclusive her drag is, how political. I tend to like a lot of the political performers, to be honest, like Sasha Velour, Bob the Drag Queen.
Bob is my favourite.
Bob the Drag Queen.
Bob the Drag Queen. Oh, if you don't know Bob the Drag Queen, you've got to get on that.
Was this
He's
the last
amazing.
season, the latest season?
No, he was season
8.
Season 8.
Okay,
Yeah.
so I'll check out season 8 and I'll check out the last one. So I can
It's all on Netflix. You know what I think though about Drag Race, which I find really it's kind of really unfair, is that not everyone can make clothes.
Yeah.
You know, but that's kind of part of it, that you have to be able to stitch up an outfit.
Yeah.
And a lot of them
And it's
do.
not really a part of drag though. Like,
it isn't, is
and sometimes
it?
lip syncing isn't a part of drag. Like I lip sync, but for other people it isn't. And you know, doing the death drops and the splits, that's not always a part for other people. And so
that doesn't come natural to some people doing
No.
death drops.
or like Snatch Game and stuff. And it's kind of like, I mean, you're basically trying to, like, RuPaul's is basically trying to find someone who's as vaguely as all-rounded as possible.
Yeah.
But it might not be the best lip syncer or the best comedian or the... So it's weird.
Yeah, it is. I mean, I guess it's a pageant, isn't it? Really,
Yeah.
It's like a glorified pageant.
Yeah.
And you have to be good at the acting. You have to be good at the lip syncing, good at the dancing, in order to kind of make it to the top. So, stop motion movie. What's that about?
That is for a friend's song who I want to make a music video to it.
Okay.
But I want to make like this really beautiful epic story. So yeah, very Tim Burton-esque as well, and I want it to just look really nice.
Yeah.
So,
and what's the story about?
the story is about a witch whose lover is dying, so he puts on a cloak and goes out onto these snowy mountains to find a magical spot where he can plant this magic seed. Then it grows into this golden flower very quickly, and then he takes it back, makes this potion with it, and revives his lover.
Wow, that's something that will take a few months for sure.
Yeah. Exactly.
I do. The amount of work that goes into that is incredible. Those stop motion films that I've seen, really, really amazing.
Identity.
Okay. It's been such a great talk today. Thank you for coming so much.
How can people find you?
They can find me by stalking me on Instagram at Eileen Bothways, EILEENBOTHWAYS. Or if you want to stalk me in person, I will be up at the Edinburgh Fringe this year performing at Best of Cabaret and Best of Burlesque every night from I think the 12th till the 19th. So come and say hi, buy me a drink.
I'll be there, I'll buy you a drink.
Woo! Winning.
Wow.
Find us on Instagram to get in touch or visit our website kikiandthecronx.com where you will find a full list of shows. Please subscribe and rate us on iTunes, Google Play or wherever you like to listen to podcasts. Thanks.